Okay, so let's, I guess, welcome everybody to this UFC fight preview show for UFC 249, a huge event, as we all know, happening. About time that we have some live sports action back in our lives. I mean, I've been waiting for this a long time. I'm sure you have as well, Colby. So let's welcome you to the show. I'm Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com, and of course, UFC on the line. And I have to make no introduction for the gentleman on the other side of me here, Colby Covington, one of the best welterweights in the world. One of the most outstanding personalities in the whole sport, of course. And obviously from his bio here, friend of Trump and a feared UFC fighter. So you guys, like I said, no real introduction needed there. So for the next half hour or so, we're going to kind of go through the fights. We're going to get into your personal life a little bit and get into some of the stuff you have coming up, of course, as well. And then we're going to break down maybe 5 or 6 of the top UFC fights coming up this weekend as well. Is that cool?
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
All right. I have some fan questions, of course, along the way we'll ask and get to as well. Well, first of all, for me personally, I mean, let's fill people in on what it's been like. I mean, you're a high-level fighter, like I said, one of the best in the world right now. I know with this COVID-19 situation, there's really, I mean, the training has to be very difficult. I mean, the gyms are shut down. This is impacting all of our lives. But being a professional fighter, how's it impacted your life? I mean, what's it like hitting the gym?
To be honest, I feel like quarantine. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I thought it went blank. To be honest, man, quarantine has been regular life for me. It's like training camp. You stay in, you go to the gym, you train hard, you get your run in, you get your shadow boxing, you get your visualizing, thinking about the fight, and that's regular life. So, not much has changed for me. I'm still training hard every day. I'm still wrestling and I'm still getting better as a fighter every single day. So, business goes on as usual.
That is good to know. Now, is it hard to get training partners in the gym, though? I mean, how has that been?
Not really. I think a lot of people want to keep getting in the gym, keep getting better and evolving. So, everybody knows that, you got to put food on the table and whatever it takes. If you got to get in the gym and keep working hard for when that paycheck comes, the biggest thing is preparation. So, guys get in the gym. It hasn't been hard, so it's been great. And, I feel like I'm getting better every single day. So I'm excited for the future in my next fight.
All right. Speaking of which, I mean, there's a lot of rumors floating around about you right now personally. I mean, we've heard possibly the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, Tough is coming back. And, there's some rumors floating around that you could possibly be a Tough coach. Is there anything true to that? Or is there something that you can kind of let everybody know?
No, there's no truth to that. I haven't heard anything about that. That's something, you'd have to talk to Ballingy about, my agency, my management agency. So Ballingy's got the answer to that. But, I'm just staying ready. I want my rematch more than anything. So I'm just going to stay prepared. And whenever it comes, which it's going to come, there will be a sequel and there will be a trilogy with Marty Fake Newsman. And when it comes, I will be prepared and I will take what's mine.
That, by the way, that was one of the most outstanding fights I've ever seen. I mean, that's definitely, I think, a lot of people in their top 10 fights of all time. I mean, that was just an absolute war out there. So, I mean, much respect to you for getting in there. I mean, you were so close to winning that strap. I mean, it was basically a coin flip up until the stoppage. So I'm sure a lot of fans want to see that rematch, desperately want to see that rematch. I mean, that was the toughest fight of Usman's career as well.
Yeah, and it was a fake stoppage. It was a fake ref. It was a fake fight. So a lot of questions need to be pointed to Mark Goddard, and he doesn't have the answers to those questions. So he doesn't have the answer why I kicked Marty Fake Newsman in the liver and he was ready to quit in the fight. And then, Mark Goddard calls a fake nut shot. And then all the hits to the back of my head, the fake stoppage. I mean, I stood right up. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm still fighting. I'm on a double leg. How are you stopping the fight? He's hitting me in the back of the head and I'm intelligently defending. So, there's too many, answers that need to be, there's too many questions that need to be answered. And it's only going to be answered on a level playing field next time. And, there will be a level playing field. There won't be no fucking con artist ref who gets paid off like Mark fucking Goddard.
No, I'm with you, man. I mean, like I said, I, for one, would love to see that rematch. I had money on you the first time because I believed that you were going to come in and win that fight. And like I said, it was close. So no regrets there. The value was definitely on your side at the betting window. There's no question about it, how close that fight was. So again, I mean, you're going to be probably an underdog, obviously, coming into the rematch if and when that happens. So there's probably a lot of money to be made there as well. So looking forward to that. Outside of Usman, though, I mean, there's a lot of other matchups that are kind of floating around a little bit. I want to know personally, what's the deal with you and Masvidal right now? Masvidal is one of the hottest fighters going on. You guys used to be so close, obviously training at American Top Team together. I mean, what happened there? Can you kind of let everybody know why the little, I guess, I don't know, the breakup, so to speak, between you guys? And is it a possibility that you might get in there with Masvidal in some time down the road?
Oh yeah, I mean, you're talking about street Judas. You know, he turned his back on me. He sold his soul for money and fame. You know, and that's what it is. You know, so everybody knows he's my little brother, and I've been big brothering him for the last 10 years. You know, every time we sparred, it's like playing with a little kid. You know, I'm on a different level than him. He's a journeyman. You know, that's why they call him Journeyman Jorge Masvidal. The guy's got double-digit losses. You know, he's barely got a 50-50 record the last couple of years. So he knows who his daddy is. He's not going to step to me and sign a contract and get locked in an octagon where he knows it's a guaranteed loss and an embarrassing loss.
Wow, that's some strong words there for sure. I mean, personally, I think Masvidal is one of the most exciting fighters out there right now. I mean, from the fan-friendly perspective, he goes out there and lays it on the line. So I'm a big fan of, obviously, both of you guys. I would love to see that fight kind of happen as well. I think it's an interesting matchup. But let's dive in. If he does get a shot with Usman, that's also rumored to be floating around a little bit, right? That he could potentially have that next crack at the title. How do you think he matches up with Usman? I mean, do you think Usman is going to get the takedowns, and you think it's going to be too difficult for Masvidal to keep it upright?
You must not have seen Dana White's comments last week, but Dana White commented saying that George will not be fighting Usman next. And, you know, there's other options for George. So who knows what the other options are for George, you know, I mean, besides fighting Usman. I said it from the start. I called that for the last, 4 or 5 months. George is not going to sign a fight to fight Usman. He doesn't want to fight anybody that can wrestle. He doesn't want to fight high-level athletes that are well-rounded, you know. So he's going to look for an easy payday and look to sail off into the sunset, and that'll be that. But, you know, it looks like it's going to be me and Marty Fake Newsman for a rematch round 2.
Wow, that, like I said, that I'm sure a lot of people are going to be into. The other possible matchup for Masvidal is maybe Conor McGregor. I think that'd be a huge fight, obviously, for people to kind of check out. I mean, it's rumored to be, if it does take place on Fight Island, that could be a headliner there. How do you think that fight plays out? I know there was a lot of people kind of asking me about that, like to get your opinion on some future fights as well. You see Masvidal beating Conor?
You know, I can't really talk about the fight because I think it's just so hypothetical, and I just don't think the fight comes to fruition. I think the fight is a lot of hype, and people are just trying to hype it up, mainly Masvidal. I mean, there's a reason Conor fought his last fight, and Masvidal was front row, and Conor didn't even say a peep on the mic about journeyman George Masvidal. You know, so I think Conor's looking for another fight with either Khabib or whoever, a rematch at lightweight with someone. So, you know, I don't think that fight's going to happen. I'm not going to talk about fights I don't think that are going to happen.
All right. What about, there is a fight possibly that's going to happen here soon that I believe it was just announced actually with Tyron Woodley and Gilbert Burns. I mean, that's a big fight coming up here, I believe on the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. And I did have a question on Twitter. Somebody asked who you thought would win that fight between Burns and Woodley.
I don't think that fight's signed yet either. I think that's still a hypothetical fight, and I don't think the contracts have been signed. But, you know, I don't even know who the guy's. Who's he fighting? A guy named Gilbert or something like that? Who's Gilbert? I've never even heard of Gilbert. So, you know, Tyron Woodley, that guy's washed up, man. Did you see him in his last fight with Marty Fake Newsman? He didn't even win 1 second of one round. That guy's washed up, man. You see the lame rap albums he's doing, you know, out here begging for money. Oh, I'm broke. Please, UFC, give me a fight. I'm broke. So the guy's just looking for a quick paycheck, and he's done too. He's looking to go to the retirement home.
Wow. So again, strong words here to see that. Well, a lot of people wanted to see maybe you guys match up, Woodley and yourself. And I know there was a chance of that happening not too long ago, and it didn't kind of play out. Anything you could fill us in on that? I mean, a lot of people were expecting maybe that mega fight to happen as well.
Yeah, I begged the UFC to fight him on 6 days' notice. I was going to put the MAGA cap on, and I was going to save America in the sports world when Tony Ferguson and Khabib fight got scrapped. I wanted to be the main event versus Woodley on 6 days' notice, but he doesn't want to fight me. He's refusing to fight me. So, you know, he knows what'll happen, man. We used to spar we sparred probably 100 rounds together, and he's never even came close to winning a round. So, you know, I break him every time I fought him in the gym. So why would he want to fight a guy that he just knows is going to get embarrassed in front of the world? You know, he's not going to sign up for that losing paycheck.
All right, there we go. Thanks for clearing that up a little bit. Let me see. Okay, another question here from Kyle on Twitter. How much does Colby think not having a full camp gym will actually affect the fighters? Curious of what, from a cream of the crop guy. So how much do you think this weekend for a lot of these fighters, again, we kind of touched on it at the beginning, they're not going to really have a full camp. Some of these fights are getting put together, so to speak, last minute. I mean, do you think it's going to have a big impact on the card?
No, I don't think it's going to have a big impact. I think as mixed martial artists, you have a duty to train every single day and try to evolve as an athlete and keep getting better. And the best always rise, the cream rises to the crop. So to the top. So we'll see, the best fighters always are going to find a way to get their hand raised. And, fighting is a lot more mental than it is preparation and training. I mean, yeah, the training goes into it, but we've been training for so many years now, 10, 15, 20 years since we were little kids that, it's more just experience and your visualization and just believing in yourself. And some guys have it and some guys don't. But, that's why there's only one in this sport.
Well said. Very well said. There's another question here. Do you believe, this is from George on Twitter, do you believe the way in which Stephens missed weight will affect him negatively? Fighters that have missed weight are on quite a bit of a run, but I feel like this helps Kattar in this situation here. So you think Kattar has an advantage now with Stephens missing weight? He was the only fighter that missed weight on this card, which is somewhat of a surprise. I mean, we see from time to time weight issues happening anyway, whether it's the virus or not impacting their lives. But in this situation, again, he missed weight by a few pounds. You think that it's going to help Kattar in this spot against Stephens?
That's a tough one because we do know the betting history that, the people that are generally missing weight are, usually coming out on top, and the odds are on their side that they're going to win the fight because, they've been able to keep on the extra weight and they feel stronger, they feel healthier. But, I think there's other reasons for why Jeremy missed weight. And, I don't think he's, I think he's definitely not in his prime and the best Jeremy Stephens we've seen in the past. So, I think it's going to play into Kattar's style. He's young, he's hungry, he's fresh. I like Jeremy. He's a great guy, but, I think that the weight miss and Jeremy's getting a little bit up there in age. So I think Kattar is going to eke out a decision.
Okay. All right. Now there's another question here from Josh Ammo on Twitter. Tell Colby, thank you for the RDA fight. I cashed in big on that one. So he wants to thank you for making him some cash there. His question is, do the top bettors, cappers pay attention to other cappers' breakdowns and use them basically to kind of help mold their own decisions, or do you block them out? I think that's kind of a question for me as well here. So let me just jump in that. I try to block out everybody else's opinion. I think, and I've told people this in the past as well, when you're handicapping a fight, you got to kind of trust yourself and trust what you've seen, the work that you've done. So I try to block everybody else out. But when I do come across somebody that's fairly sharp and agrees with me, it definitely makes me feel a lot more confident. When you have a lot of sharp minds kind of thinking the same way and understanding and seeing something that you see in a particular matchup, I think it never hurts. So it definitely raises my confidence level on something, but I do try to block things out. What about you as a fighter? I mean, do you feed into anything from, maybe some handicappers out there or some smart media members that are kind of saying how the fight's going to break down, or some of the breakdowns? I mean, there's breakdowns published almost on every major media outlet anymore. And there's people that are going to pick with you, pick against you. I mean, does that fuel you? Do you take anything from that at all?
As in like people like betting on me or against me, or like for me betting on fights?
Well, like maybe a fairly sharp media member, like breaking down a fight, and he's maybe picking you to lose in a certain fight, or he's picking you to win. I mean, do you gain confidence when they're picking you to win? Like I said, sharp, intelligent minds in MMA, possibly like going for you or against you. Do you try to block that out, or do you take a little bit of pride in that, or maybe even listen and understand the situation?
Yeah, I don't really pay attention to it. Let's be honest, opinions are like assholes and everybody has one, and most of the time they fucking stink. So, people have been picking against me my whole career. I remember in the locker room for the Damian Maia fight, everybody on the desk, Tyron, Woodley, Karen Bryant, Kenny Florian, all those guys are picking against me that I was going to get beaten. You can't pay attention to those people. I could be the president and they'd find a way to say, oh yeah, they discredit it for me. And if it was anybody else, they'd praise him as a god. So, I just don't pay attention to what people think. Everybody has their own opinion and they're entitled to think whatever they want, but it's not true. I'm going to prove you wrong.
Oh, definitely. I think that's, again, well said, because, man, there's so many times that I've heard a lot of analysts out there just totally off the wall. I mean, usually when they're picking against you, it's almost a good thing. In most cases, they're not. So let me see. We have one question from Craig B. He's asking who's he taking in the Gilbert Burns Woodley fight. We kind of addressed that a little bit as well. Do you have a pure pick in that fight? Do you think if that fight does happen, Burns versus Woodley? I mean, Burns is kind of a lightweight moving up to, the welterweight division. Woodley, obviously a former champion, but a lot of people are giving Burns some love right now, man. A lot of people are thinking because of his win over Maia and, he's had a good run lately. I mean, do you see Burns as a threat in the welterweight division? And do you think he can actually beat Woodley in this spot if the fight does happen?
I've never even heard of the guy, to be honest. I think the guy's name is Gilbert or something like that. So, I honestly have never ever heard of the guy or watched any of his fights. So I wouldn't know anything about him. What we did see from Tyron Woodley in his last fight is he just looks washed up, like he doesn't want to fight anymore, and he's done. He has no heart. And, we saw the rap albums, and he's trying to cash out in Hollywood. And even TMZ cut his ass because they were sick of him talking about the same thing about what the Kardashians were going to wear and what swimsuit they had on one day. So, I think Tyron Woodley, is cashed out. But if he's fighting a guy I've never heard of and some lightweight bum, I would probably pick Tyke Will, but who knows?
All right. Now, another question here from Billy Bean on Twitter. He asks, as a fighter and top-level athlete, do you believe that back-to-back weight cuts will affect Tony tomorrow night? That's a good question, man. I mean, he cut weight twice in a month, basically, right? I don't think it's a good idea personally, but I mean, again, I'm not an athlete, high-level athlete like you. So what do you think about that? Is it going to affect Tony by chance?
I mean, it is strange times. I won't lie. So he is a strange person, and the strange times might prevail for strange people, but yeah, definitely. I mean, cutting weight back to back, like 2 weeks apart is, you deplete your body when you're cutting weight, and you completely take out all the water, all the nutrients and everything, and suck it down, like a prune. And then it comes back like a sponge when you put the water back in. I just don't think that's good for your body. It kind of bloats you a little bit, and it makes you weak. So, I think he finds a way to win, but I do think that the weight cut hurts him, and he might have to survive some trouble early in the fight and then have to come back like he usually always does.
Yeah, that's the thing, I think, for me as well. We'll get into that fight here a little bit as we break it down, like give our betting picks or whatnot for that fight. But yeah, I think it's not a good thing for him to actually cut weight twice in that short span. It's not going to help him. I mean, Gagey has so much knockout power. I think that's kind of a more of a risk factor there. Okay, now here we go. Here's a question from JTO, John Trevor on Twitter. Ask him how Greg Hardy's takedown defense is. Greg Hardy's takedown D. I mean, Hardy, obviously a high-level athlete. I mean, all-pro football player. The guy has transitioned really well in MMA. I mean, training at American Top Team. Have you got a chance to check him out, or have you trained with him at all?
Yeah, Hardy's an athletic specimen. I mean, to cross over from being an NFL Pro Bowl player to being a high elite level UFC fighter is an impressive accomplishment in itself. So, he's been training with Steve Mocco at American Top Team. Steve Mocco is one of the greatest heavyweight wrestlers of all time in the USA. Like, the guy's a legend. So, I think Greg Hardy's prepared. I think, you'll see his athleticism put to work. And I think definitely his takedown defense will be good enough for whoever the guy he's fighting. I don't know who that guy is.
DeCastro, he's kind of more of a striker. So I don't think he's going to have to worry as much about the takedowns. It's probably going to end up being a striking affair. But that's a good question. I'm curious. I was curious about the takedown defense as well. And I mean, I'm telling you, yeah, we've seen the progression in Hardy's game. It's amazing, really. I mean, this is truly a special athlete. All right, I have a political question here from a friend of mine as well, Buddy on Twitter. He also asks about, let me see here. Let me bring it up. Okay, he said Candace Owens was with you backstage at your last fight, and he thinks she's a very sharp mind. She should run for VP with Trump. He wants actually her to replace Pence as a vice president. I mean, give us your take on Candace Owens. And I believe she just recently, if I'm not mistaken, got banned from Twitter or something, he said as well. So, yeah, a lot of, again, politically, you're the man, I guess, to ask these questions. I mean, I'm not as political. I'm not a big political guy myself, so to speak. So what do you think? I mean, tell us about Candace Owens.
I would say Candace Owens is one of the smartest minds, if not the smartest mind I have ever been beside in my entire life. I mean, I don't think she should run for vice president because I think she's good enough that she'll be the next president after Trump. And I think that she'll clean up America. She'll drain the swamp. She'll make things great again, just like Trump started. She'll finish, So Candace Owens is such a great lady, man. She's one of my good friends. I was just talking to her the other day, and she was just telling me about, kings don't pay attention to cockroaches, Colby, so don't pay attention to what people are saying. So, much love to Candace Owens,
Awesome. Good to hear that. Yeah, he sent me a video, and I was very impressed. Like I said, I don't know a lot about her, but for what I did see shortly, I mean, it was very impressive. So, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I think she got banned from Twitter for telling people in Michigan to go back to work. How ridiculous is that? Because the governor's trying to keep them on lockdown. So she was just telling people, hey, go back to work. I mean, you got to put food on the table for your families. And they banned her for that. Like, how how in the fuck can the far left on Twitter censor and shadow ban you from just for having an opinion that's not of their own? It makes no sense.
All right. Yeah, no doubt. It definitely is kind of sad. I mean, everybody kind of needs to get back to work now. I think we're all kind of sick of being quarantined. I mean, the economy is suffering so bad. I mean, personally, myself, it's been, it's impacted my life negatively as well. We want to get out there. Like I said, thank God for the UFC coming back this weekend and kind of helping everything get the ball rolling again, because it's much needed. And I think little by little, every, state's going to start opening up, and we'll probably get through this. I know there's some difficult times ahead for sure, and it's going to take a while for the economy to rebound and for everybody to kind of get back to where they need to be. But I'm glad for one that, things are starting to move in the right direction. There's no doubt. I did have another DM here from Marcus Williams on Twitter. He's a good friend of mine. He's asking, can you ask Colby to give us some insight on what goes behind the scenes in negotiating fights? So he wants basically the inside scoop of like how you guys possibly negotiate some of these fights that are coming up.
It's tough, man. There's not really the right answer for it, because the UFC is very stubborn and they don't want to negotiate with guys. They want to pay guys what they want to pay guys, and they want to think that they're the only show in town, and that you got to take what they give you. But it's just they told me in the beginning of my career, make yourself a star. We're not going to do it for you, and you go out there and become a star, and they still don't give you what you deserve. It's just. I've had a rough go. I've had to learn everything the hard way. And I'm not trying to look for sympathy or anything, but it's just like, any young fighters trying to up and come and try this out, it's tough to really recommend them to go down this path, because I just don't think they're going to get what they deserve. And the risk that it takes to fight, and everything that goes into it, I don't think it's worth it. So, the negotiation, it's all freaking politics, just like every other level in life. And, you just let the politics be the politics, and just control what you can control. That's all I can do, is I can control being prepared. I can control, becoming a better person every day, becoming a better fighter. And that's just what I'm doing, is just staying in control of what I control, and let my agency, Ballinger Group, manage the negotiation side.
All right. Thank you for that input as well. Yeah. I mean, I can see a lot of that as well. I mean, I think overall the industry in general, I think fighters are definitely underpaid, and you have to be at the top of the totem pole to really start making that money. And like you said, I mean, you put yourself in a very good position because you made yourself a star. I mean, not only your talents inside the cage, but I mean, your persona, the way you go about things as well, has kind of helped you boost you to the top, I think. And a lot of fighters might not have that kind of personality to go out there and go get it like that. I think a lot of them are a little bit more timid possibly, and they're kind of going to be floating around and not getting anywhere by that. I mean, again, winning fights obviously helps, but, I think putting yourself out there and getting yourself more attention, like I said, like a lot of the stuff you've done, you've really skyrocketed the last couple of years. So it's good to see that. And, a lot of people, they either hate you or love you, kind of, so to speak, right? And that's good for you. It doesn't matter. Even if there's haters out there, they want to watch you fight. They want to watch you get beat. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, But then again, you're going to have all those supporters that want to watch you win all the time as well. And, they're going to cheer you on and believe that you should be the champion right now as well. So that's awesome. And again, your relationship with Trump, can you kind of touch on that? I see Trump in the background there, so it kind of made me, again, we'll get back into politics. I know you've been a huge supporter. You have pictures, at the White House after you won the strap, and you took it there as well. So that's pretty cool. I mean, not many people could say that they got to meet the president in that situation. So how close are you and Trump, and like, what's the relationship like there, I guess?
Yeah, Trump sent me his picture, and he wrote me a letter from the White House right after I won the world championship and sent it out to me. And I thought that was very nice. And he extended an invitation to come to the White House and hang out in the Oval Office with him. And, that was amazing. It wasn't just a photo op, me coming to hang out with the President of the United States for being American champion and celebrating how American champions should celebrate, going and seeing our great president who, is and doing a lot for our country to make it better and gives you the opportunities to chase your dreams. So being able to do that, was just amazing. And my relationship with, Mr. President, he calls me before every fight. We have a lot of talks. His family, the first family, Don Jr. and Eric Trump, they've been very good friends of mine. I talk to them occasionally, and I always go visit them when I'm in New York and Mar-a-Lago and whatnot. So, I can't thank them enough for what they've done for me. I mean, the president and the first family have rolled out the red carpet for me and treated me like their own, like I was family, and they didn't have to do that, and the fact that they did is just, it makes me so inspired to keep working hard for them and giving my platform and and just trying to, have a voice of reason and for unity in this country. I think that the Trumps are doing a great job of making this country great again, and they're working hard for this country. They didn't have to put themselves in that position and the limelight. They had enough money to just sail off into the sunset, but they decided to because they wanted to fix things and make things better. And just, you see how dirty politics is. And, I'm just happy that, they're standing up for what's right. And, truth is a force of nature.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, like yourself, I mean, he skyrocketed to the top, he became president. That's amazing. I mean, his background, his story, to even be in the position that he is. I mean, you got to respect that for sure, whether you love him or hate him. And there's a lot of that out there as well. You think he's going to get challenged in this presidential election? I mean, I know you're obviously a big Trump supporter, but it seems to me like it's really not going to be that close. I mean, it's not going to be as close maybe as everybody thinks. I know that Biden is getting a lot of attention. He won the Democratic nominee or whatnot. So, I mean, possibly, with the way everything's going, I'm sure this virus has not helped the situation for, the president. But to me, I think it's almost a no-brainer that he's going to probably get reelected. I mean, how do you see it? Do you think it's going to be a close election, or do you think it's going to be a blowout?
Before this pandemic started, I would have said it was going to be an absolute blowout. But the way this pandemic's going and the way China, sent this to our land and it killed our economy. It killed Trump's economy. And that's what the Dems wanted. They wanted his economy to be ruined. So he can't claim to have the best economy since forever. And I think he'll still win by a large margin just because Joe Biden, I mean, he's an old guy with dementia who can barely even get a sentence out of his mouth. And especially with the Tara Reid allegations now that he's a creeper and he's been sexually assaulting women his whole career. I mean, that doesn't look good for him. I mean, look at before with the Brett Kavanaugh case, and everybody's like, oh, believe the women. At first, you have to believe women on sight. Oh, now they're saying, oh, you can't believe the women just because, Tara's accusing Joe Biden. So it's just the double standard that you see from the left to the right. And, I think at the moral of the story is that President Trump's getting reelected by a large margin, and he's going to make America great again.
All right. Yeah, not good stuff right now going on for Biden, that's for sure. But it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I know various sites are going to have odds listed too, and there might be some money to be made there because, the odds could be a little bit closer than they should be at times. So you got to take advantage of that. I know, I've made some money off and on with the elections before, and it's pretty cool, actually. I mean, you wouldn't think that's the case, but political props, as they call it, are kind of a thing to bet. And like I said, you could actually make some money there as well.
I agree. I agree. But 1 second, I just want to stop you because I think that's funny. They've been talking about doing the mail-in voting. And I think that if they do the mail-in voting, they're going to find a way to rig the system. I mean, you saw the Florida, last year was all messed up and they were rigging the polls. So, if they try and do mail-in voting and keep this country shut down till the end of the year, because Nancy Pelosi has, a lot of say up there to pass the bills and get America back open again. So let's see if Congress does the right thing and opens this country back up.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting to see how that plays out as well. That should definitely impact the election. And hopefully, I mean, there's just so much corruption. And I mean, Russia influencing the elections, they say off and on or whatnot. I mean, who knows? Anything can factor in at this point. I mean, it's hard to trust any point of the election process at this point, I think, overall. So we'll see how it plays out. But I still think by the end of it all, I really don't see Trump not getting elected again. I think it's going to be pretty clear, and I think he's probably going to win the election again, probably by a wider margin than everybody thinks. But again, I'm not a very political guy. I could be wrong, but that's kind of just my 2 cents with that. All right, let's start getting into some of these fights and breakdowns here for UFC 249 a little bit. I mean, there's, like I said, a handful of fights that definitely we want to cover and go over. This card from top to bottom is one of the best UFC cards in the history of the sport. I mean, like I said, good timing because all of us have kind of been fiending for sports, and this is going to be on the stage, in the spotlight for sure for all sports fans in general. So a couple fights that we want to touch on, I guess, would be first, again, Greg Hardy, De Castro. I mean, De Castro is one of those guys, like I said, it's kind of going to be a striker versus striker matchup. The odds right now are minus 215 for Greg Hardy. The comeback on De Castro is at plus 175. So you would think with Greg Hardy's name and recognition, that line would be a little bit wider. But I mean, De Castro is very game. I mean, he's a dangerous guy. He's coming off of a couple great wins. I mean, since he's been to the UFC, he's displayed some of that knockout power as well. So I personally don't think it's going to be an easy fight. But, I mean, who would you pick? Would you bet Hardy at that point at minus 215, or would you take the underdog action to De Castro?
I got to bet on my boy Greg Hardy. I can't bet against my friends. I never bet against my friends. He's one of the few friends that I have in the MMA world because obviously everybody hates me. They're jealous of me. And, they wish they were Donald Trump's favorite fighter. They wish they were the people's champion or America's champion like me, but I can't control that. So a lot of jealousy and hate is on my side. But with that being said, I got to go with my boy, Greg Hardy. His athleticism, I mean, you don't see athleticism like that in the heavyweight division. Guys being able to move like that quick. I mean, let's be honest. A guy with 2 left feet, Tim Sylvia, won the UFC heavyweight gold. So anything can happen at heavyweight, and I'm going with my boy, Greg Hardy.
All right. A lot of sharp action kind of taking that line with you. So they agree with you. The line was under 2-1. It was under -200, and now it's up over -2 at 215 right now. So I think some sharp minds agree that Hardy should probably be the side. I personally think it is a dangerous fight, though, because, again, DeCastro is one of those guys. I mean, he's got knockout power. He's got those nasty leg kicks, and he's got a good timing with his knees. But the size and athleticism of Hardy, I can understand why people are going Hardy's way. So I'm with you. I can understand that as well. One very popular fight, and it could be a potentially a future opponent of yours, the winner of this fight. I mean, again, I don't think they're on the same level because it's almost a must-win situation. But Cerrone versus Pettis is what we're going to get into. Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Anthony Showtime Pettis. I mean, that's a big fight. Both of these guys are well-known, well-respected, and they've been for many years. Now, I'm saying they're both kind of not fighting at the top of their game. That's why I'm not sure if they are going to be a future opponent of yours, but we did see Cerrone recently fight, Conor McGregor. He got that fight as well. So if Cerrone gets back on track here, gets the win over Pettis, or these guys could roll off a couple wins in a row, I mean, it could be a future opponent of yours. But getting into this fight, Cerrone right now is the underdog at +117. So Pettis is coming in at -147, and the comeback on Cerrone at +117. So Pettis a slight favorite. How do you see that fight playing out? And do you think, which way would you bet it? So either Pettis the slight favorite or Cerrone is a slight underdog?
Yeah, both those guys are completely washed up. I mean, their heyday is way past them and behind them. But if I had to pick someone, I'd probably pick Pettis because I think that Cerrone's coming off a couple knockout losses in a row. A couple vicious fights, and I think he's coming back too soon, like he always does. He always loves to come back and fight like 2 months later, a month later after he's been knocked out or beaten. So, I just think that Pettis has got the youth on his side a little bit more than Cerrone. So I got to go with Pettis there.
I can understand that too. I think it's going to be one of those cases where if Pettis gets it done, it's probably going to be early. But to be honest with you, man, the last few years, I have not really seen a lot of good in Pettis. Even the fights that he won, when he beat Wonder Boy, when he came back and won that fight, not that it was flukish, but at the same time, he was losing the majority of that fight. I mean, I just haven't seen the vintage performances from Showtime Pettis that we're used to seeing. And I think even though Cerrone's coming off 3 losses in a row, I mean, they're to the top of the food chain type of guys, McGregor, Gagey, Tony Ferguson. If you go back beyond that, though, he's actually been performing at a better level. Even though he's older a little bit, I think that, it's almost his fight to win. If he could weather that first round storm that Pettis is going to bring, I think Pettis starts to decline a little bit more in round 2 and round 3. That's what we've noticed, at least lately. So I think Cerrone could possibly take over. So from a betting perspective for me, I think, again, it's dangerous early for him. I think Pettis can definitely knock him out in the first round or so. But if it creeps into round 2, round 3, I think we could see Cerrone pulling this off. And I think he's going to have a little bit extra motivation at this point, too. He has a loss to Pettis 7 years ago. I know that was a long time ago. But, I mean, this is a rematch. I mean, the UFC matched it well. I mean, this is a fight that probably people do want to see again. And it's a winnable fight for Cerrone. So I would probably go with the underdog. Again, that's not a popular opinion because most people are betting Pettis, so they believe he's going to win the fight. But I think Cerrone's probably the side at the dog money if I was going to bet this one. All right, let's get into another fight. A big boys, again, we're going to talk about Rosenstrike versus Ngannou, man. I mean, this is going to be huge. Both of these guys are just heavy hitters. We're talking about athleticism with Greg Hardy. I mean, Ngannou, he's not an all-pro football player like in the past, obviously, as Hardy was, but that dude's a freak, man. I mean, that guy's just a beast. If you look at the guy, the speed, the power that guy possesses, I mean, he can go out there and clip anybody and put him out for sure. And then on the other side of it, Rosenstrike's actually a more accomplished kickboxer in the past. He's the more accomplished striker. He's got knockout power as well. I mean, we saw what he did. He was losing that fight to Overeem in his last matchup. And it took one punch, at the end of it. He was kind of fortunate to land that punch, but he landed that punch and split that lip open. That was disgusting, but it was a beautiful punch, and he got the W. So he's got that one-punch knockout power, the fight-ending power that you like to see at heavyweights. Both these guys have it. At the betting window right now, it's Ngannou -265, and the comeback the other way is about 2 plus 215, I believe. Let me see, just plus 205. So we're looking at Ngannou -265, Rosenstrike at plus 205. What's your take there?
I just don't know how anybody could be scared of anybody named Francis. I mean, just the name alone is just, I mean, it's just, I don't know how anybody could be scared of him. So, if I'm betting on him, I'm probably going Francis. I think that Francis is is a little bit bigger fighter. You can see he's got a weight and size advantage on Rosenstruck. And I think we'll see Francis get the win. But right, let's be honest, it's heavyweight. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way, actually, man, because I think Rosenstruck is actually, there's some value there. Anything plus 200 and up on Rosenstruck, I think has some value because, again, like you said, it's heavyweight. Anything can happen. I think he's fairly durable. And you know what, for Ngannou, I'm just not so sure if he doesn't end it within 30 seconds or a minute. Not that he's got awful cardio, and I think the cardio is getting better. It's just I think the tide will start changing towards Rosenstruck a little bit. We get to round 2, round 3. I don't think it's going to go that long, but with that change, fight-ending knockout power on both sides of it, I think if it hits the scorecards for any crazy reason, I think Rosenstruck can actually win the decision there. And I think he's got that kind of knockout power where he could put Ngannou's lights out as well. So if you're looking at a puncher's chance either way, I mean, explosive, powerful athletes like this, I got to go with the dog money here as well. I think there is probably value at plus 200 on Rosenstruck here in this matchup. But again, it's a fight that definitely all of us are looking forward to seeing. I mean, it's a fantastic fight. And this is probably my favorite fight on the card, honestly. Well, there's so many of them, but this is one of them for sure. All right, let's get into Dominic Cruz versus Henry Cejudo, the bantamweight strap on the line here. I mean, obviously this is, an awesome fight. Cejudo, the Olympic champion, Triple C as he likes to be called. Man, the guy's a beast. I mean, he beat DJ for the flyweight title. Then he steps up and steals that title at bantamweight as well. I mean, that knockout of Dillashaw was a thing of beauty, and he's been on a roll right now. I mean, it's hard to count the guy out, but how do you see this fight playing out? Right now, it's Cejudo as a minus 225 favorite. The comeback on Dominic Cruz at plus 160. A lot of question marks with Cruz at this fight because he's been out for so long. But that being said, I think it's still a great matchup, and it's a tough one to bet. What do you think here?
Well, let's be honest. There's only one Triple C, and that's me, Colby Chaos Covington. That little midget Henry Cejudo has been trying to bite on me and copy my style since the beginning. If I made a sandwich tomorrow, that dude's going to make the sandwich the same exact way. He's up there kicking freaking pillows off the stage, just like I was kicking Marty Fake Newsman's basketball off the stage in December in Vegas. So, let's be honest. This fight's not at 125. This fight's at bantamweight 135. Henry Cejudo's a little midget. Dominic Cruz has got like 4 or 5 inches on him. I got to go with Dominic Cruz. I just think that he's going to beat up that little midget Cejudo, and that's going to be that. He's a flyweight. He's not a bantamweight, and I think Cruz, the time off has served him well. He's healthy. He's fresh. He feels good. And, I just think his footwork, his reach, his distance, and just being the bigger fighter in there is going to serve him well, and he's going to have the advantage and get his hand raised.
No, well said. I agree with you here, too, as well. I mean, I know, again, the question marks, everybody's just kind of worried about Cruz with the time off, with the injuries and all that. But he said himself, man, I mean, ring rust isn't a problem for him. And he proved it. He came back and won the strap last time he was out for a while, right? So if we see Cruz, I mean, like I said, in shape and ready to go and not kind of being affected drastically by the injuries, like you said, he had enough time to heal his body. So I think that bodes well for him. He is going to have the size advantage, as you said, as well. I mean, this is a bantamweight. He's going to have that reach. I think his footwork and his striking ability is going to actually be better than Cejudo in this spot as well. So I think that's the only way you could bet. I don't think you can lay the chalk either at this spot on Cejudo. I think there's probably some value on Dominic Cruz at this price. I think it should be closer to maybe, if Cejudo's a favorite, maybe minus 130, minus 140. So if he's over minus 200, that's crazy in my opinion. And there is some value there with Cruz. So I'm glad we agree on that one. Yeah. All right, let's get into the headliner, man. I mean, this is, again, we kind of touched on it a little bit. Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gagey. There's no way this fight could disappoint. I mean, both these guys bring it. It's probably going to be a striking affair. I mean, maybe Ferguson wants to take this to ground because he's got a better ground game overall, you would think. But the wrestling of Gagey, defensively at least, will keep this up. And Gagey doesn't really go for takedowns. He's not a wrestler guy. He's not an offensive wrestler, we should say, right? At least in the cage, he hasn't been. So this is more than likely going to be a stand-up war. And Gagey's power, compared to the diverse skill set that Ferguson has, I mean, he can slice you up in many ways as well. This is going to be fireworks. There's no way. Dana White was right. He came out and he said that there's no way this could be a dud. This fight's going to be fireworks. I agree with it. I think everybody out there is agreeing with it. I actually personally think that this is a better fight than the Khabib fight was, just from a fan-friendly perspective, because, I mean, Khabib probably would have took Ferguson down. He would have grinded him out a little bit. And he does what he does best, so you can't blame the guy for doing that. But I think it would have been a little bit more dull than this fight. I think this is absolutely amazing. So the current odds right now are minus 240 for Ferguson and plus 185 for Gagey. The line's climbing. A lot of people are backing Ferguson in this spot. I mean, how do you see this fight playing out exactly? I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I mean, what do you think overall for this fight? And who would you bet at the current odds? Because sometimes you might want to pick a fighter, right? I mean, you could say, maybe possibly Ferguson is the pick. But as far as the betting value goes, it could be on the other side. I mean, if you're looking at plus 185 or so, it could be that way. So what are your thoughts on actually who wins a fight and where the betting value is?
I think that Tony Ferguson wins the fight. Like I said earlier, it's strange times, and he's a strange person. So I think that the strange times is going to benefit him. And, let's be honest, Justin Gagey is a one-eyed, lazy-eyed dork. And he even said it himself. He only has like 8 or 9 minutes of pure aggression and fury in him. So I think that even if he puts Tony in some adversity early in the fight, Tony's very good at coming back, and he'll implement his will and his cardio, and that'll prevail. He'll wear Gagey out and gas him out and finish him, either submit him or with his lethal elbows that he just does some weird shit with. That's all he does is weird shit. He's bouncing him off poles, doing some weird spinning shit. I mean, the guy's, he's a head case, so he needs to get his shit together, but it's going to serve him well during these weird times.
All right. Again, I personally already have money on Gagey. And as the price climbs up, I just think he can probably get it done within the first 2 rounds. Again, if he doesn't, though, you're right. I mean, if it goes into round 3, round 4, round 5, my money's probably out the window. And I realize that. Because I don't expect him to win a decision. I expect Ferguson actually to finish him as the fight progresses. I don't think Ferguson will finish him in the first couple rounds, but I do think Gaethje's power is going to be a little bit too much. I mean, we've seen Ferguson get hurt before. Now, he recovers quickly, and I like that about him. I mean, the guy's a warrior. He goes out there, even if he's stunned, even if he gets dropped, he manages to survive, and then he comes back and puts it on his opponent. So I am worried about that for sure because he's got that warrior spirit in him, and, man, he's tough. And like you said, he's kind of a bit strange in many ways, but that it works to his advantage. You know what I mean? I'm not, trying to knock the guy. I mean, I think he's accomplished what he has. This win streak that he's on in the lightweight division is phenomenal because it's definitely one of the toughest divisions in the whole sport. So for me, though, personally, again, the plus money, I think, it's one of those matchups that are kind of difficult. I think Ferguson's going to really have to weather that early storm. And if he does, he's going to win, but I don't think he will. I think Gaethje by knockout, possibly, there's going to be a prop there of value. I think that's going to obviously be a little bit higher than plus 185. So personally, I already bet Gaethje. And as the line progresses a little bit more, we're seeing the sports books in general go up to, like I said, right now it's plus 185. There's plus 190s out there. I'm seeing on the Dom Best screen as well. So the public itself, it's betting Tony Ferguson. They believe in Ferguson. But for me, man, I think I got to go the other way and try to kind of take that risk in the first 10 minutes or so that he gets it done. So I'll be on the other side of that. But again, good opinions here. Any other fight in particular on this card that you want to go over? I mean, we basically, I think, touched on most of the bigger fights from top to bottom there. I mean, anything else that kind of stands out to you?
Nah, I don't really pay attention to fights or other fighters very often. So, I'm not really paying attention to anything below the main event or main card. So I couldn't even tell you who's on the undercard or who most of the fighters are, because I don't really pay attention to fighting. Unless I'm fighting, and I'm locked in that arena, it's my time, then it's my time. But, besides that, like, I like to have, peace in my life and not just focusing. My life isn't consumed by fighting. I'm not just a fighter. I'm more than a fighter. I'm a human being. I'm a future politician. I'm a future WWE star. So, my time is busy and I don't got time to worry about all these jobbers in the UFC.
That's what I wanted to actually ask you about as well. Good. I'm glad you brought up the WWE. I mean, what's up with that? That's obviously a very realistic thing. I mean, I think a lot of people out there can recognize that you'd be a star in the WWE. I mean, everything that you've established in the UFC octagon and just your persona, again, the way you go about things. I mean, is that a real possibility here in the near future? I mean, have you talked, to Vince McMahon? Have you talked to the WWE possibly about, again, your UFC career is what you're focusing on now. So I get that. But I mean, down the road, it seems like that's a very likely possibility. I mean, how serious are you about that?
Yeah, I'm very serious, and especially because the WWE champion, that Scottish Sasquatch, Drew McIntyre, called me out the other day. So, yeah, he's a big giant, but he called me out and I wanted to go wrestle him, but he sounds like he wants to fight. So, I want to fight Drew McIntyre. That's who I want to fight in the future. And I would love to cross over to WWE. I've met Vince before, and, I've been in Monday Night Raw and hung out with Ronda Rousey, and, my friend Bobby Lashley's over in WWE. So I know he's talking to Vince McMahon, and, my good friend Kurt Angle, I'm going to be looking at teaming up with him soon and doing some training. I want to get back to my wrestling roots, what got me here, my American wrestling roots. And, what better guy to get back to those roots than with the Olympic freaking champion, Kurt Angle. He won the Olympic championship with a broken freaking neck. It's true. It's damn true. So, I can't wait to get back to training with Kurt Angle. And, the future is bright. There's a lot of options out there. And definitely I see myself one day conquering the WWE ring and winning another world championship.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. I think a lot of people would love to see that as well. You know, I mean, it's cool for me to see the crossover. I mean, the Ronda Rousey, like you brought up, she crossed over, she became a star. I mean, Brock Lesnar, obviously one of the biggest WWE stars of all time, and then to be able to cross over from WWE to come over to the UFC and win that strap, that's phenomenal. I mean, who would ever thought that, right? That's crazy. But it, you know, I mean, he did it. And then, of course, recently, a little disappointing against Cain Velasquez. I think he got cut from the WWE roster, but a former UFC champion, legit heavyweight, one of the best heavyweights of all time. I mean, again, I haven't paid close attention. I'm not sure how that all worked out, but I mean, what are your thoughts on Cain Velasquez getting cut off the roster?
Yeah, you know, my opinions are, you know, I can't say I'm surprised. It didn't look like, you know, he was evolving as a wrestler, and, you know, maybe his body's a little bit shot. He's had a long career fighting. He's been in some wars, and, you know, I just don't think that his body can hold up anymore at that high level, you know, and WWE is the highest level, man. Those are real athletes, and those guys put it all on the line. So I just don't think that he could put it all on the line anymore. And WWE, you know, has to move on with their business. And you know, Drew McIntyre is the champion now, and he beat Brock Lesnar. I can't believe it. You know, that's got to be the biggest upset, you know, in WWE history. One of them, one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, no doubt. That is shocking. I don't think a lot of people seen that coming at all, for sure. I mean, so, all right. Overall, I think we covered a lot of topics. Is there anything else, I mean, that, you know, you want to cover, or anything that you want to say to the fans out there? Again, a lot of people are tuning in to this cast, and they want to, you know, hear from you for sure. They want to see what's going on. I mean, a lot of people are just really curious about what you have coming up next. I mean, they want to see when you're going to get back in the octagon. I know it's been a little while now as well. And, you know, so again, rumors are floating around out there, but I know you can't really touch on exactly what, but I mean, how soon do you think? Do you have a time frame or estimate that, you know, or something that you want to do? Like, you want to be back in it? You don't have to mention the opponent exactly. Like, well, obviously you want Usman next, right? You want to get that rematch. But how soon do you see yourself back in the octagon?
You know, I've been ready since December. You know, it took me about a week after my last fight with Usman. I was already back in the gym training, healthy, and feeling great. So, you know, I took the fight with Tyron Woodley on 5 days' notice, and I was serious about that. And the UFC knows I was serious about that, and I was ready to end his career. So, you know, there's a reason they call me the people's champion, and I stay ready for the people. I want to save America. I want to save the people in a time like right now during this pandemic, and I'm ready to fight tomorrow. So if the UFC called me and there was a fight tomorrow, Fight Island, let's do it, man, and give me the biggest fight possible. Run it back with Marty Fake Newsman, you know, give me a fight with him. You know, that's the only guy I want to fight if I'm not fighting journeyman George Masvidal or Tyquil Woodley. So, you know, I'm ready to fight, you know, and you know, I'm ready to stake claim to what I know is mine. I know I'm the best fighter in the world. That last fight I got robbed, and I'm out to show vengeance that was a robbery. And, you know, round 2 is going to be completely different than the first round.
All right. Awesome. Like I said, I'm looking forward to that as well. If they do approach you with this Ultimate Fighter situation, again, I mean, who knows if that's going to be the scenario or not. But if they say, hey, we want you to coach against Usman at the Ultimate Fighter, you guys might not fight for several months after that. I mean, because that's usually the way it goes, right? You guys would have to do the show. You know, you'd have to train your fighters, coach your fighters that you have on the show. So it might be a while if that's the case. I mean, would you be willing to do that? If the UFC called you up and said, hey, you're going to, you know, be one of the coaches, or you're interested in the Ultimate Fighter, and, you know, you'll go against Usman at the end for that rematch. I mean, would you take that?
Absolutely. You know, that'd be super fun. You know, I'd be entertaining because I would just be so deep in his head that, you know, by the end of it, he'd need to go literally see a psychologist, because he wouldn't even be fighting me by the end of the show because I would be so deep in it. So, you know, I'd love to. It'd be funny. You know, I'd put on a show for the fans. No one cares about Marty, you know. So, you know, I think it'd be entertaining. If the UFC wants to get their money's worth, they'll put America's champ and Donald Trump's favorite fighter on the show. So we'll see if it happens.
Yeah, that'd be sweet, man. I would love to see you guys coaching and, you know, opposing each other. Then at the end of it all, get in there and get your rematch again for sure. I would love to see that. All right. I mean, like I said, I don't think there's much more to be said here. I know you're a busy man, and we appreciate the time. I mean, like I said, a lot of fans out there are definitely curious to see what you got going on, and they want to see you back in the octagon as soon as possible. So stay safe, stay healthy out there. I mean, I appreciate you coming on here, and good luck to all the fans betting this card. I mean, obviously you're going to be watching, right, from top to bottom. I mean, this should be a great card on ESPN. And then I believe the UFC actually has a few more events. On the 13th, they have another event coming up. On the 16th, they have an event coming up, and then on the 23rd. So the UFC is going to be in full stream ahead here soon. And I'm looking forward to that. I think all the fans are as well. So anything you want to add, or anything you want to say, or any maybe shout outs or mentions of your social media or anything, go ahead.
I just want to say much love to all the fans out there, all the people in the world. Stay safe, stay healthy. You know, don't listen to the news, because we know it's fake news and they're just fear mongering. And we know that all the numbers are fake and they don't add up. And people are paying the hospitals to report more COVID cases. So it's all just, you know, a hoax as it is. So just stay healthy, you know, do your social distancing, and everything's going to come back to normal soon, and America will go on. So keep your sanity and get over to mybookie.ag. Come on, it's the best place in town. You get a 50% deposit bonus if you put in my name, Colby, and bet on the fights this weekend. You know, sports are back. We don't got to bet on the weather anymore. We don't got to bet if the grass is going to grow an inch by tomorrow. Let's go bet on the UFC at mybookie.ag and make those bank accounts great again.
There you go. Well said, my man. All right. Thank you again, Colby. It was a pleasure talking to you. Hopefully we can do this again down the road.
It'd be fun, man. Good chatting with you. Talk to you soon, buddy. Good luck on the bets.
Thank you, sir. You as well. Thanks. Take care.
Later, man.